There we go. How's that for an angle? Oh, my cat likes it. Hey, what's up? Like Grocer, youtube.com/rockinguitarssince1 and rockinguitarssince.com. I'm going to answer a Q&A from Sam Cupper, or Cooper. I get it wrong, dude. K-U-P-P-R. I don't know if it's Cooper or Cupper. It's the ever so many year debated question. And really, I have to break it down and say that this is just an opinion. Eddie Van Halen or Randy Rhoads? This was, you're implying through that who's better, or I'm going to take it as who influenced me the most. And this one is tough because you guys have heard me talk about hearing Eruption. If you haven't, I'll tell it really quick. Hearing Eruption on the radio back when Van Halen 1 came out, I wasn't playing guitar yet. But it wasn't too long after that I started playing guitar. Eruption just, like, it inspired me to want to play guitar beyond belief. I can't explain how amazing, for those of you that, you know, were double digits, like 10, 11, 12, 13, in the early 80s, that play guitar. I'm sure you guys can totally relate. Or even if you didn't, you know, but there's something about the newness and freshness of it. We've heard Eruption, you know, from 1979 to now. It's just amazing. Eddie was explosive and dynamic, innovating, and I don't use the word innovating lightly. I mean, to be an innovator is a real tough thing. And you don't start out with going, I'm going to be an innovator on guitar. It just happens. It's passion fueled by, you know, raw talent and practice, skill, all that stuff combined. So that's what got me really into, like, seriously wanting to play guitar. I was listening to Kiss, you know, as a little kid. I even had the Kiss lunch pail, Kiss cards, you know, like 7 years old, had a Kiss shirt. But I wasn't playing guitar. I was intrigued by it. But, you know, when Van Halen 1 came out, which I think was 79, correct me if I'm wrong, I was 9 years old. So by the time I was 11, we had a guitar in the home. By the time I was 12, I was playing. And Eddie was just a humongous influence on me. So let's switch to the other side, Randy Rhoads. Really, it's the same thing for me with Randy. His solos, you know, we only have Diary of a Madman and Blizzard of Oz. I mean, imagine what Randy would have done through the years, you know, if he was still with us. And if there's someone that I could bring back from the dead, that would be number one, the top of the list, Randy Rhoads. His solos were like a masterpiece. I remember so looking forward to the guitar solo, and it didn't matter what song it was because every single guitar solo Randy did was beautiful, amazing. Is this recording? Yes, it is. You know, Mr. Crowley, I remember, you know, turning the volume up to hear every single note he was playing as it was fading out. And you're like, man, why did they fade this out? Why didn't they just keep going, Randy? I mean, it's just exciting. So, and like I said, I feel that way about every solo that Randy did, and his rhythms were amazing too. They were just masterpieces, what comes into my mind. Two different type of players in the sense that Randy was very schooled, Eddie wasn't. The way I kind of explain Eddie is, you know, when he goes into a solo, this is just the vibe and the feeling I get is, yes, he's explosive. He does the tapping. He's got all the tricks. You know, he used to turn around and face the amp in the early days to do his, you know, those little hammer-ons and or the sliding harmonics with the pull-offs and stuff. And people were, you know, trying to figure out what it was. And once they did, you know, other players were doing it, like Lynch and even some of the younger people now, when they hear that, they're like, what the heck? It's new to them. And I know the feeling. I know because I remember hearing it and going. It was the same way when I heard Malmsteen, you know, with the sweep picking. It's like, what in the heck? You know, so with Eddie, you know, he's he's got a lot of years. Van Halen's still playing. And to be honest, what influenced me the most and where I think Eddie was the best was on the first few albums of Van Halen. Van Halen 1, Van Halen 2, Women and Children First, Fair Warning, which was like the abstract Eddie. You know, Alan Holdsworth type playing and soloing. That's what really, really impacted me. His tone, unbelievable tone that Eddie had and has. His tone's still pretty much the same, but there's a little more of a rawness to it back then. That's what I'm more into. Not that, you know, I'm discrediting Eddie of the 90s and up to now. I just feel like he was at his prime in the early days, and I feel like that was his best stuff. It influenced me the most. So jumping back to Randy now, with him, I get the impression that his solos were a little more worked out. Every note, for the most part. Not that he wouldn't improv on something. You know, guitar players that are touring, you know, they change up things, you know, just to keep it fresh. But for the most part, man, every guitar player that joined Ozzy, you know, whether it was Jakey Lee, Zach, Gus, you know, when you get to the guitar solo, it's like a tribute to Randy. Why would you change perfection? You know what I mean? So they played those solos the same way, and then would alter little tiny things to bring in their style. But why would you change, you know, the solo to Mr. Crowley? Goodbye to Romance. I mean, they're just beautiful masterpieces. Now Randy, you know, because he's schooled, that's why I say I'm sure things were worked out, you know, like working out a song. That's how Randy would approach a solo. Eddie Van Halen, I'm sure did the same, but there was just more of that. Eddie can improv something, especially the early Eddie, and just blow your mind and go, what in the heck? And for us guitar players to try to emulate Eddie's style I think is extremely hard. There's only a few that I've heard get close. One of them is Nuno Bettencourt from Extreme. And he even emulated Eddie's tone on Mother Don't Want to Go to School Today. You know what I'm talking about. But Nuno, probably the closest I've ever heard. Dweezil Zappa, I saw do a really cool take on Eruption, and it was, you know, pretty much the same. But I think Nuno was the closest. Eddie is just so hard to emulate. Even at my age now, certain things he did, I'm like, what in the heck? He was a young dude here too. So if I had to say Eddie or Randy, I'm going to lean towards Eddie, but it's just the early first, you know, 4 or 5 albums with Eddie. We have more to pick and choose from him. With Randy, we only had 2 albums. Can you imagine, you know? Maybe I'd have a different viewpoint if he was still with us. They're so equal, guys, to me. I'll go 51 Eddie, 49 Randy. And it's an opinion at the end of the day. I'm not saying Eddie's better. Eddie better, Eddie better, Eddie better. So join the discussion. You know, we can go on and on with these type ones. I have some more of these comparisons. I'll do a few of them, but really it's just they're going to come down to opinions. So let me know what your opinions are. I'm really curious because Eddie and Randy, they've influenced me, as I'm sure they have you, and they're probably in your top 5, I'm assuming. All right, so be sure to subscribe to the channel, share this stuff, and give me some more Q&As. I've got a lot, and I'm really focusing in and writing them down so they don't get lost way in the back of the pile. I've got over 3,000 requests. Most of them are song related, but I'm going to start bringing in these Q&As more for you guys. All right, so till next time, I'm Mike Gross. Keep rocking. How do we shut this sucker out here?